you're listening to the wrong podcast. Topics today include marriage, charisma, and cause and effect.
Wrong! What's wrong with you? What's wrong with y'all?
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you people? Wrong! You do have to tolerate it. It's my show.
Hi, I'm Tim. I'm here to talk about politics, culture, religion, sports, and anything else you're not allowed to talk about in polite company. Special guest host, Wendy.
Hey!
Issue number 1. Make it a habit.
Make it a habit.
Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you.
As you may know, we're married.
I do know that.
Good.
I was there, yeah.
You've been here for all of it.
I've been here for all of it. Now I'm going to stay for it.
Tell me, this was your topic that you wanted to bring to the podcast.
Okay.
You didn't. This is why I'm telling you, because you forget things.
Oh, uh-huh.
And aside from our witty banter,
yes,
what would you say is the secret to the success of our medium-term marriage?
Medium-term marriage.
It's not short-term, but it's not long-term. Like, we can't...
Our permanent marriage.
Our permanent marriage, okay.
Besides our witty banter, well, I would say our relationship with God. But
Yeah.
I think that you're probably leading me to the 5 A's, which is the topic that I wanted to talk about today.
The 5 A's, you say?
Yes, there are 5 things, and they all start with the letter A.
A. And what are these 5 A's? What do we do? Why do we do them?
Sure. So we learned 5 A's when we were actually in our premarital class at church. This was taught by Roger Tirabassi, who's a well-known marriage dude counselor here near us. And we were very, very blessed to get to be under in his specific class where he was the teacher. And he taught us these 5 A's that he had developed. And it's 5 things that start with the letter A. And you and I do them once a day. Our time is before bed. And we walk through these 5 A's every single day. And we've probably missed just a handful of times in
Less
our
than
marriage.
12.
Way
Way to go, us.
I guess that's
And
more than a handful.
when I tell Roger that,
Uh-huh.
that, we've missed so few, he's like, that's amazing. Nobody's ever like that. So we're the best. We're like his best students.
Well, it's for us, it's just become our routine. For some people to add something new, it's a lot, but we've done it since we have been married and maybe since we've been engaged.
Yeah. And making it a habit, I think, is the secret.
Yeah.
And making something a habit is always awkward.
That's right.
It feels forced and it doesn't feel authentic. Any kind of habit you do. Like if you taught yourself to eat with your opposite hand, with your left hand instead of your right hand, it would feel forced and awkward, but eventually you could do it.
Right. And so it was probably awkward when we started. And we don't, I don't actually remember what each of the A's stands for anymore.
Oh.
I know you do, which is why I have you here on the podcast to talk about this with me. But we know the order, and for us it serves as a way to just ground our marriage every day, ground our relationship with each other, and make sure that we have talked about each of these things during the day.
Yep. So the first A is affection.
No.
Yes. Appreciation?
You really didn't write these down?
It's appreciation.
It's appreciation.
The first A is appreciation.
Right.
And that's where we say, hey, thanks so much for taking the trash out or taking a shower today.
Yep. I love the way you play with our kids.
Oh, that's so much nicer than 2 I came up with.
Yeah. Thanks for taking a shower today. So it's just what we each say something appreciative to the other one.
The second one is affection.
That's right.
And
don't get too excited here.
Yeah, just short, like squeeze the shoulder, small kiss.
20-minute back rub.
Like we said, don't get too excited. And the whole thing, this whole exercise, like we spend like
less than
3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So a minute on each at most. The third A, which I think is really the key to them for me, is apologize. Mm-hmm. And that's where you say,
do I need to apologize for anything?
And early on in our marriage, excuse me, not just mine, but you were there.
Uh-huh. whole time, yep.
I jumped on that before she could for my own sake. I realized if I did something that I needed to apologize for, that I should just apologize in the day when I realize I need to apologize for it, because I'm going to be meeting Wendy at some point that evening.
Yeah.
As we go to bed, this is our pillow talk, and I'm going to say, is there anything I need to apologize for? And she is going to bring it up, probably.
And so because of that, for us, there's rarely something that we need to apologize for. But that is our opportunity to make it right and to say, hey, this is something that bothered me or hurt me. I remember when Roger taught the class, the example he gave was one that had happened that day for him and his wife. And I think he had asked her to mail something and she had forgotten to mail it. And so when she asked if there anything I need to apologize for, he said, yeah, you forgot to mail that thing. And I thought, at the time with my rose-colored glasses about marriage, I was like, wow, it's so mundane. But now I get it. Like, I don't want to hold over you, and I don't want you holding over me, the small things that can add up to bigger things.
Right. It's keeping accounts short.
Yeah.
The fourth thing is ask. Is there anything I can do for you? So in Roger's example, he asked his wife to apologize for not mailing the package. And then she said, is there anything I can do for you tomorrow? And he said, you can mail that package.
That's right. So we'll frequently think of something that the other person can do, and it's just a way of
making sure that we're serving one another.
Yeah, and we're telling each other how we want to be served.
Yeah, yeah.
So examples, like I'll frequently say, you can turn the crock pot on when you have your lunch.
And I'll say, you can think of me and dream about me holding you in your arms. I don't know.
You never said that.
I will tonight.
You'll say, you can tell me where you want to go to dinner tomorrow.
Yeah, things like that. You can let me watch the baseball game. You can let me go out with my friends.
That's right. These
things like that.
Yes. And then it's something that I'm doing for you. And again, like all of this sounds very mundane, but it is the secret sauce.
And I want to say something about romance. Like,
Wrong!
Everybody has this idea of romance where your partner will just get you. They'll automatically do what you need because they get you, because you were meant to be. Mm-hmm. And why should I have to tell my husband to do this for me? He should just know that I need him to take the dog out for a walk for me because I'm busy. Mm-hmm. And we don't have a dog, so it's super weird when I take Wendy's dog out for a walk because everybody's like, the dog's like, who are you?
But you digress.
Yes, I do. But the point I was trying to get at was, it's not romantic to ask somebody to do things for you, but romance is fake. Like, and I don't want to say it's fake, but like you set yourself up for failure if you expect too much for romance.
Yes. And
sometimes romance is telling somebody exactly what you need, and then they do it.
Right. Romance is not a mind reading test.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. And
so I can't even how far are we in? 17 years? I can't expect you to automatically know that, I need this or that done. Or that when I'm really stressed, this would be helpful to me. Like you, of course, after 17 years, like you know a lot of those things, but it's also not fair for me to expect that from you and then to resent it when you don't.
And so it is okay to ask your partner for whatever you need. Mm-hmm. And an example is you go on a run, you use this little Map My Run app.
Yes, that's right.
And you said, hey, when I'm done with these runs, I would really like you to hit like on my run and leave a comment.
You totally do.
And I do.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel less, it was hard for me to ask you for that, but it doesn't feel less because I did. Does that make sense? It's not like every time I see that you are doing the thing I asked you to do, I feel the same way or similar to how I would if you just got it. Without me telling you that I wanted
maybe the
to
first couple times you're like, oh, he's only doing that because I asked him to. Mm-hmm. But it feels like I did it because I remember.
Yeah.
Like it just
and
I am remembering.
Yeah, you did it this morning and I appreciate that.
So the fifth A, Wendy, what is it?
The fifth A is amen.
Amen.
Amen. I did say it first. Let the record show.
Fifth A is, how can I pray for you? Mm-hmm. And I've got a big test tomorrow in physics.
You do?
No, I don't. Mm-hmm. I don't take physics tests anymore.
But pray for my shoulder. It's been hurting.
Pray for this meeting I have with this client.
Let's pray for our daughter.
Yep.
And then we actually pray.
Yes, then we actually pray. And then we go to sleep.
So it has taken us 9 minutes to talk about the 5 A's, but it will take less than 5 minutes to do in a day. And we just recommend this to all couples.
Indeed. Issue number 2, charisma. Wendy, you know that I have this fascination and hatred of charisma, right? Like, oh, we were talking about Matthew McConaughey, and like you were listening to his autobiography, and there were just things he was doing. He's like he just gets away with stuff because he's so good looking and so charismatic, or at least I've come to understand he's good looking from other people. I don't know.
And he's white as well, right?
Yes.
Like plenty of things that he talks about himself doing. If you were not a white male living in Texas, you probably couldn't get away with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it like, I can't even remember the story, but he just did something that he shouldn't have gotten away with. And charisma, like that's like the only
like
reason.
Your 4-letter word.
Yeah. Like, well, the thing about charisma is like, it doesn't seem like you can learn it. You either have it or you don't. Like, it's not a skill. Like, you can teach yourself calligraphy, but can you teach yourself charisma?
Well, do we have a surprise for you? Is that good?
I think that's exactly what I wanted. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't even ask you to do that.
I read your mind. How'd that feel?
So Wendy listened to a podcast. It's like the Hacks for Life, or
All the hacks.
All the hacks. So life hacks. We all love life hacks, right? And somebody was on there to teach you the hacks on how to be more charismatic.
And when we say charismatic, what are we talking about?
She, the author of this book, this woman who has studied charisma for the last 17 years, and she has studied it because she was not charismatic. Mm-hmm. She's like, how are people getting... She started, like, and she put it to an academic study.
And when we say charismatic, we mean like incredibly engaging, right?
Yes,
like somebody you want to follow.
Yeah, that's the thing about charisma, is that you get people to do things that you want them to do. And people are just interested to watch you do whatever you're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, like Tom Cruise is not a great actor. He doesn't have a lot of range in his acting. Mm-hmm. He's kind of Tom Cruise in every movie. But you want to watch him because there's just something about watching Tom Cruise that's interesting.
Now, what is it? If only we could figure that out.
Well, she says that charisma is warmth plus competency.
That's right.
Is that how you remember it?
Yep, those two things, and having a high amount and a balanced amount of both.
And the problem with competency is that it's hard to get, right? Like, I am not a competent baseball player. But I am competent in other things. Mm-hmm. So whatever you're good at, you get even better at. And whatever you're not good at, you try to get better in that thing. And that's hard to do. We all know that. But we have ways of getting better at things that we don't know how to do. I'm not a competent woodworker, but I am confident that I could become one if I really wanted to. I could apply myself and get better at that.
And warmth just means that you're friendly, right? It means that you exude friendliness. And so if we've all heard from people who are very competent at something, but there's no warmth to them. And for that reason, they're not charismatic. And then we know a lot of people who are very friendly, but they don't show you that they're competent at whatever thing they're doing. And then they just seem like
a golden retriever. Like, yeah, I want a golden retriever around.
Let's be friends. But I don't know if I want to give you my business.
Yep, exactly. And so it's combining these two things, getting better at both of them, and then presenting them at the same time. And one of the things she said was that first impressions matter a ton. Right off the get-go, you present warmth. Mm-hmm. And a good way to present warmth is through gratitude. I'm so glad you brought me here. I'm so glad you're listening to me right now. Mm-hmm. Thanks for your time. Mm-hmm. And you have to be authentic about it, because people read through it if you're not. If you say, thanks for having me, it's not going to work.
Right.
You have to have some warmth to that gratitude. Second thing is your pitch. Before you start talking, breathe in. And then, like in the first words you're going to offer, don't say, hey, thanks so much for having me. That's me breathing in as I say those words. Instead, breathe in. Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Sounds more competent.
Yep, sounds strong, right? Mm-hmm. Third, this is something I try to remind myself to do before I start every podcast, particularly at the beginning. Smile while you talk. If you're on the phone with somebody, just smile. Even if you don't feel like smiling with them. If you're smiling, it changes the temper.
Timbre.
The timbre?
It's spelled
the timbre.
Or timbre, but I think they say timbre.
They say timbre?
I've heard that.
I
took music classes, if you recall.
If you have words to say about how to pronounce timbre. Or treble, or timbre. Timbre, let us know. But smiling changes it. It comes through. Now, this part was Wendy's favorite part of all of her
Just because it was
suggestions.
so funny. It was so funny. Can I say it?
Yes,
So
please.
one of the things she talked about was how to interrupt. So if you're talking to somebody, you can't seem to get a word in, and you're in a conversation, but you don't want to be rude to them. You want to stay warm. She said, make a fish face. Okay, and I know you're making a fish face right now. She just said, like, open your mouth in an O. Can you do it, Tim? Uh-huh. And it feels like the dumbest thing, but it's a cue that you're going to say something, and that's going to cause them to stop. I guess maybe they can't keep talking if you look like that.
Maybe, like, do you have to make a fish face? Like a ridiculous fish face? Or maybe just, like, open your mouth like you have something to say? Like,
yeah, I would think that, but she definitely said a fish face. So we'll need to practice this a little bit.
And she said holding your hand up, too. Like
oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, people will give you space to say what you want to say.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that.
Like, don't shoot your hand way up like, second grader. Like, Welcome Back, Kotter. What? I don't know the character's name, but, don't do that.
Okay.
Wow, nice 70s reference, Tim. Everybody's invigorated and riveted to your cultural
so
competency.
charismatic.
Remember, I want to know what's wrong with you.
What's wrong with you?
If you'd like to submit a question, topic, or tell me how I was wrong, you can email me at listen@therewrongpodcast.com or submit a comment at my website, therewrongpodcast.com. And help me spread the wrong message. If you like what you hear, share it with your friends. Now it's time for my favorite part of the show. I was wrong.
I was wrong. I was wrong.
That is literally Wendy's favorite song now. Like, whenever we're walking around the house and I say, oops, sorry, I was wrong about that.
I was wrong.
Yep, Wendy reminds me that I was wrong.
That's right.
So this comes from listener James. James says, love the Wrong Podcast. Keep it up. Your example of MC Hammer still holds, but clearly you forgot about Too Legit to Quit.
Ooh.
Too legit to quit. Too legit to quit.
And Adam's Family Groove.
They do what they wanna do, say what they wanna say, live how they wanna live, play how they wanna play, dance how they wanna dance, stick and they stop a friend. Adam's Family.
And you were right. I don't know how I could have forgotten those two songs.
If he was right, then you were
Wrong!
wrong. You were wrong.
Issue number 3, The Cause. This is another comment from a listener. Ted says, hey Tim, you're wrong.
Wrong!
Your argument that permanent daylight saving time will increase cancer rates is a fallacy of correlation equaling causation. There could be any number of reasons for the cancer time zone correlation. I don't know, maybe carcinogenic factories favored one side of the time zone due to esoteric 1900s railway schedules. Or something. Are all those kill factories suddenly going to relocate because of daylight saving time? Now, I appreciated this comment because I knew that when I made that argument that I was making this fallacy, and I was wondering who is going to call me on it.
Now you know. It's Ted.
It was Ted. And of course it's Ted. Now, I learned about correlation and not being causation. We're going to explain it in a second. But I learned about it from you, Wendy.
Wow.
And the reason I learned about it from you is because you have a graduate degree.
Oh, yes. And that's what you learn.
And Ted has a PhD.
Yes.
And this is something, if you're going to a quality program in the sciences, as you and Ted both did, they're going to pound it in your head, right?
That's
if you
right.
take advanced statistics, you're going to learn about correlation not equaling causation. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody why correlation is not the same thing as causation?
Sure.
And we'll have a bunch of fun examples coming up.
Oh, fun. Okay. So the word correlation is like the word correlate, right? So that means things are connected. And so that would be something like kindergartners are not as tall as adults, right? Being a kindergartner is correlated with being short compared to adults. And then causation would be a cause. So that would be to say you are short because of a particular thing about you. So
because you haven't reached puberty yet, for example.
For example, yes, right.
So it would be incorrect to say that children are short because of kindergarten.
That's right.
That
Yes.
would be the wrong way to think about correlation and causation. It's true that short people are in kindergarten. It's because they are short that they are in kindergarten. It's because of their age that they are in kindergarten, not their age kindergarten isn't making them young and short.
Can I give another example?
Yes, please.
So another example I just heard yesterday, I was at a junior high choral concert, and one of the people introducing the chorus was saying that music, any kind of music education, has been proven to be connected to all other sorts of great outcomes. You know, better at math, better at social skills, better at public speaking, just better outcomes in general if you took music classes as a child or a young adult. And, you know, in my head, I snap immediately to, okay, those things are correlated, but we don't know if taking music classes causes all those things. And when you do a study, it's much, much more difficult to determine causation because there's so many other factors that could go with it. So people who take music classes may belong to schools that are higher performing because of the socioeconomic place that they're in. Maybe parents who send their kids to music classes have other qualities about them that relate to some of those positive outcomes. Mm-hmm. So it's not to say necessarily that taking music causes positive outcomes. Now, I think actually there are some studies that show that it does, but to do that, you have to take, you have to control the environment as much as possible, you know, and more randomly put people into music classes, not based on other factors around them.
So here's some examples to help you understand this even better. This one is super obvious. I'm going to start with a couple that are just obvious to you that they aren't the same thing, that correlation and causation are not the same thing. So that's easier to spot for more difficult things. So an easy one is you'll hear people do this all the time. Hey, I want my football team to win, so I'm going to wear my lucky shirt and I'm going to sit in my lucky chair. Mm-hmm. And because I sat in this chair, my football team won. Mm-hmm. I heard Matt Damon talking about this. He's a Boston Red Sox fan. They were finally in the World Series, and he could have gone to the World Series games. He could have seen the final game where they won the World Series. But because he sat in a particular chair in the first game, he said that was causing them to win, and He didn't want to mess that up.
Wow.
So even though he's got all the money in the world and the opportunity to get the right tickets to be there, he said, no, I'm not going to mess up their chances of winning the World Series by changing chairs. Now, clearly, the chair Matt Damon sits in has nothing to do with the performance of the team.
Right.
But it's sure fun to think it, right? Mm-hmm. Like
that I have all this power.
Yes, that you have this power. It's your lucky shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, the second one. Ice cream sales cause shark attacks.
What?
The more people eat ice cream, the more people get attacked by sharks.
That is horrible. Then you should never eat ice cream.
Stop eating ice cream, people. Think of all the kids getting their legs ripped off like little Bobby Rittner in Jaws.
You know the name.
Yes. I probably got the name wrong, but I at least said it confidently because
charisma. Yes.
So
is that one not causation, Tim?
No, ice cream sales do not cause shark attacks. Oh. And shark attacks
do not cause ice cream sales. That would be just horrid if you were like, oh, somebody got attacked by a shark.
Ben and Jerry's, they're like, Let's celebrate. Go sharks, so we can get our... And the reason that ice cream sales are correlated, like if you look at them like month by month, you look at shark attacks and you look at ice cream sales, month by month, they go up at exactly the same rate and then they go down at exactly the same rate. And that is because of the weather. The weather is the cause.
Oh,
People are hot, so they go swimming in the ocean where the sharks attack them, and they're hot, so they eat more ice cream.
They should not eat their ice cream in the ocean.
That because sharks are attracted to ice cream.
Also salt water, yeah.
But so seriously, look at that. Like, just imagine that graph in your head of ice cream sales going up, peaking in July, and starting to go down in September. and shark attacks following that exact same line. Like that mental image will help you think about other correlation and causation kind of things. So another one is that cold weather causes the flu. Is this true? Does cold weather cause the flu?
Not directly, no.
Like we go outside, it's cold, and suddenly I've got a cold. I'm sneezing a ton. This happens every year to me in the colder months.
Well, what else happens in those colder months, Tim?
Because it's cold, I go inside more. I don't go outside as often.
So and I keep
all the windows closed in my house. So, the cold weather doesn't cause a shopping spree every year. The cold or I should say, I messed it up. Cold weather does cause a shopping spree every year because they can't run around and play outside like they used to. So they go inside and shop because they're looking for things to do. And while they're inside shopping, they get sick from one another. They pass on their colds and flus. Okay. This is going to confuse you for a second, but don't worry. Don't worry, Wendy.
Okay.
I'll
stop worrying.
I know you're looking at it and you're going, that can't be the case.
It can't be the case.
Cigarettes cause lung cancer. Now, this seems obvious to you that cigarettes cause lung cancer. And for a long time, everybody was saying, hey, cigarettes cause lung cancer. And the cigarette companies, they said, no. Correlation does not equal causation. You cannot assume that cigarettes cause lung cancer. There's a lot of things that could be causing lung cancer, and it's wrong for you to assume that it's the cigarettes. It could be there's a lot more cars on the road now. So maybe it's all the auto pollution that's causing it. A lot more urbanization. People used to live out on farms, and now they're all living right together, and so urban pollution is causing all this lung cancer. We're able to detect lung cancer much better now than we used to. So maybe people used to die of lung cancer at the same rate. Maybe they were dying sooner than they are now. And they would have died of lung cancer if their hearts hadn't just given out on them first. So somebody had to prove it. Somebody had to do all the work to show that indeed cigarettes do cause lung cancer. And it took a lot of work. A lot of, using control groups. Like, here's the people who never smoke. Here's the people who do. They're the same age. They're the same genders. They're the same ethnicity. They live in the same cities. You had to compare all of these things to say, okay, what's different about them? Can we get it down to the only thing different between this group of people and that group of people is that they smoke cigarettes? Okay, this one, super controversial. Ready?
Ooh, you're going to say something controversial? Whoa, brace yourselves.
Finally, Tim says something controversial on this podcast.
Wrong.
The increase in vaccinations is responsible for the increase in autism. Look at the charts. There's a lot more autistic kids today, and we're giving a lot more vaccinations. Clearly, the vaccines are responsible for the autism. And this is only correlation. That's all we have to go on. We don't actually have the causation. Now, you'll have a lot of people give you anecdotal evidence. They'll say, well, I know it happened for me. And every story of every kid, that is a data point. That is true.
Right.
Yes, that kid got a vaccine and then they showed signs of autism. The problem is that they are only one data point. And their point of data is not any more valuable or reliable than the 20 million other kids who got vaccines at the same time. So you have to consider that kid who showed signs of autism, but you also have to consider every other kid who did not show signs of autism. And you have to group them all together, and you have to actually do more work than just assume that it was the vaccine. Just like the cigarettes, you had to prove it. You couldn't just assume it. You got to prove that it's the vaccines doing it. And here is an example, just to show you. Yes, that graph of types of vaccines and number of children the rate of children with autism showing up, it's also exactly the same as the number of organic grocery stores available in the United States. So if I said to you, hey, look at these two graphs, they're exactly lined up. Clearly, organic grocery stores are causing kids to be autistic. You'd say, well, no, that's not true. We know that like eating fresh vegetables isn't the thing that causes autism. Yeah, you're reacting to your impulse for what feels real to you, but just feeling real doesn't prove it. Like you've got to do the work to show that it doesn't cause it. And when it comes to autism, we don't know what's causing it. It could be pollution. There's who knows? Like we really don't know. But they really have studied vaccines and not found any evidence that it causes autism. Now, you will meet people who say, hey, I know because I got my kid this vaccine. And then within a month or two, they started showing these signs. And what may have happened is that the signs of autism happened to show up in certain children around the ages of 3 or 4 at the same time that they got a particular vaccine at the age of 3 or 4. And it's awful. I'm sorry that your family is dealing with it, but it could just be the timing of the two things.
I think maybe, to temper it a little bit, that correlation provides important clues. Mm-hmm. And this autism in particular is one that is not figured out yet. But these clues are there. So the clue of the increase in vaccinations, the clue of the increase in organic grocery stores, the clue of ice cream sales and shark attacks. Like there's clues there that may point to something else. Like you said, it could be pollution. It could be, changes in society.
More Wi-Fi. It could be cell phone towers.
Right. And we're not saying any of those things, but we want to follow the clues without just landing on what's correlated.
Yep, that's right. And so, Ted, yes, you are right.
He is right.
I cannot prove that a later sunrise every day causes cancer. I can only correlate the rate of cancer to the Western time zones of each time zone.
Western
fringe. The Western fringe.
Edge.
So, yes.
But maybe Ted can prove it for us.
Maybe he can.
In his spare time.
He probably has the skills to do so.
Yep.
But I was wrong. But I could be wrong. If you think I am, let me know. And let me know why. I had fun and I hope you did too. Bye-bye.